What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a huge update for you in regards to crafting. We've been waiting for this one for a while, and while this is just the initial response from Orion, one of the devs from Standing Stone Games, it's quite a big one, so let's get into it. First off, there is a forum post from Orion. I will have that linked down below in the description so you can check out all of the notes and read it at your leisure. But I want to hit on a couple of the main topics here and some of the things that I'm pretty excited about. I'll give my thoughts on it and we'll kind of go from there. Now, the first major thing that is talked about in this post is that professions will be the way forward. Currently, we have professions that are locked within a vocation. So if you're not familiar with this, you choose a vocation from one of the crafting masters, and then that vocation will have 3 professions within it. And there's very little you can do outside of that, aside from having alts to, do the other crafts. So going forward with this, professions are going to be separated from the vocations. So now you'll be able to train any 3 professions that you want. So what does this mean if you already have a vocation with the 3 professions in it? Well, really nothing changes for you. So you will retain those 3 professions, and later on you'll be able to potentially purchase a 4th one. Now also you'll be able to forget those professions since they will be standalone. You don't have to necessarily keep those. So an example of this would be if you wanted to be nothing but a gatherer, you could actually be a scholar, you could be a forester, a prospector. That way, when you're out in the world, you can pick up anything that is a gatherable. Now, the 4th one is going to require a purchase, and we really don't have a whole lot of other details on that particular front right there. But just know that the vocations will be going away, and you'll be able to pick up to what 4 professions you want to define you as a crafter. Now, I should state that this is all tentatively coming with update 38, which will be the Umbar expansion later this year. Now, naturally, that gives way to a new crafting tier. So the Umbar craft tier. Now, this one's going to be interesting because this is going to be the first crafting tier that we've ever experienced that will not require you to have any work done in the previous tier to do anything with it. You can actually just start working on it as long as you have access to that crafting tier, which would likely mean purchasing Umbar. Now, this is pretty interesting because we've never experienced anything like this before in Lord of the Rings Online. So anybody that comes into the game new, and maybe they're starting out or they Valar Attune and they get, further in the game and they don't really want to go back and do all that prior crafting to get up to Umbar. Well, now that doesn't matter because you can go right in and just start with the Umbar crafting tier. And this is actually leading the way to something potentially interesting in the future. Now, this isn't something they want to commit to just yet, but the plan is to eventually remove the proficiencies from the lower tiers to allow players to progress through any tier that they want. So if you're specifically wanting to go work on Rohan crafting tiers, you can go do that without having to do all the other stuff. If you want to work on the Mordor tier, have at it. So this is a really interesting update in that this is making it so more people have access to what they want to do when they want to do it. Those are pretty cool. So the next part of this has to do with the materials and how it's harvested and what that means for crafted items. So now in the post, I talk about how the materials are still kind of being finalized, but we can expect that there's going to be new rare ingredients from the nodes, just kind of like you would normally expect, but also a requirement for more raw materials for refining. So, think your 2 ore for 1 ingot. Looks like that could potentially be more. And so what this is going to do is it's going to make crafting more valuable and have a greater impact in the player economy. So again, what does that actually mean for crafted items? Like, what is it going to do to it? Well, it's actually going to be based on kind of a ranking system for gear and consumables. If you're a crafter, you'll be able to create, specific pieces of gear that are equivalent to raid gear through new recipes and a new consumable item called a luckstone setting. And this will actually also open up modifiable gear. So again, this is all very preliminary, but it does sound like they're really making a strong push to put crafting back into relevancy for this game, and I'm really excited for that because it opens up the door for a lot of other players to do something that they enjoy, which currently doesn't hold a whole lot of value for them. So along with modifiable items, there's also going to be upgradable items, and there is a kind of distinct difference between the two. Now, I do want to point out that the current plan is to allow modifiable gear to be freely moved between characters, like trading between characters, so that you can upgrade your friend's gear for them and give it back to them. Now, this is something, if you want to think, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, think of this like enchanting, or I guess that's the best example, because you would open up a trade, you would put the item in there in the trade, and then I would actually go in and enchant that item. So that's kind of a very crude representation of it, but think of it along those lines. Again, the difference between the upgradable items and the modifiable options: upgradable would be something like essences, traceries, offhand weapons, and things like that. They're talking about class items, instruments, and things like that, but that's not really been solidified just yet. Now, the modifiable options would be that you'd actually have a number of upgrades between 3 and 5, and each upgrade will add a stat, an essence, a slot, a level, something like that. So modifiable 0 upgrade items should be able to trade and be auctioned and all of that, while if it's modifiable plus, it will not be tradable. So that's kind of interesting, and we'll need a little bit more detail on that and kind of probably get our hands on it before we really understand what that looks like and feels like in the real world. So again, this is a very large update to crafting, and again, this is just the beginning kind of dev diary outlining the goals and what the purpose of this update is and what they're looking to do overall. Different things in this list are going to happen at different times. This is probably not all going to be dumped on update 38 of Umbar. We might see some of this kind of leading into it, and certainly some afterwards. But overall, this is a very significant overhaul aimed at really modernizing the entire crafting system and just making it more viable for everybody that wants to engage in crafting. So naturally, there's going to be more information coming. Orion has been posting in the forums, replying to questions and whatnot, and trying to stay engaged that way. So certainly get over to that link. Again, it is down in the description below. Make sure that you get in there. If you are a crafter and you want to have your voice heard, make sure you're in there talking about it, asking questions, get clarification, and just be involved with the process. Now is the time to do that. When things get into bull roar, make sure you are on there testing it out, make sure it's working and doing what is intended. Again, it will be further out because update 38 is not slated till later in the fall, so keep that in mind as well. But overall, just reading through this and reading the responses from Orion, I think that this has the potential to make a huge impact in crafting and the way the player economy works in this game. And I'm actually pretty excited for it. And I don't typically do a whole lot of crafting, but I might have to, throw my hand back in there and give it a go once this becomes live. So be sure to tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Like I said, for me, I'm pretty excited for it, and I'd love to hear what you all have to say about it. And I'm sure as more information comes available, we'll be posting more videos, and I look forward to seeing you all then when we have more information. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribing to this channel. That way you get updates when I post new content, and make sure you're heading over to Twitch at twitch.tv/bloodborne. Follow over there. Turn on the notification bell for both. That way you know when I go live and when I post new content. On that note, I'm done here, and I'll see you in the next video or in the live streams on Twitch. Take care.